Welcome to the Making Up the Numbers podcast. The Making Up the Numbers podcast is sponsored by Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, and the world's finest independent mountain bike magazine, Singletrack.
Hello everyone, the dust has settled, or should that be the mud has dried on the 2020 downhill season, and we're back once again in the podcast game. Jack, a really successful season for you and Dan. You must be delighted with how it all turned out.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, we waited obviously a long time, and it was super frustrating to have kind of spent the year training, not really knowing if we were going to go racing. So when we did go, it was great, and Dan obviously lived up to any expectations and more. Not many people know this, but he broke his wrist in the summer, and we kept it dead quiet because I didn't want British Cycling dropping him from the team for world champs. I knew he was going to be right, but you just don't know how they kind of make these selections. So not many people know that. He had about 10 weeks off the bike, maybe a little bit less, 8 weeks. So Crankworx was kind of like, is he still in the game? Because he was going real fast, but you never know how someone's going to deal with an injury. So when he came second at Crankworx, we were like, right, this is on. And then that weather in Leogang just suited him down to the ground. So when he took silver, that was unreal. And fifth overall in the World Cup Series was good. It's a shame he front punctured in the last round. And if he hadn't done, all he needed to do was come 8th to come 3rd in the overall. So obviously these things happen. It's racing, but that was disappointing for him. But yeah, he's had a killer season, and his qualifying and race times show that he can come up to elite next year and do well. So, you know, we're going to keep him on the team. I can tell everybody that now, and we're going to keep looking after him and help him with that season in 2021. My racing was quite frustrating. I had a huge crash in Maribor on the first day and sprained my left ankle. And yeah, just after all that training and all that prep, and then you have to do every race with an injury is annoying. The only race I really felt like I could ride properly was the last one. And I came 23rd, so that was decent. So yeah,
good result. Yeah,
damage limitation 34th, I think, in the overall isn't bad. It's respectable. So yeah, it was all things said, it was a good season for us.
Excellent. I see you started training for 2021 already. So you're keeping Dan on. Is that the team? Is that it all sorted again?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not training yet. Just there's not a lot to do, is there, with COVID? So I'm just kind of keeping busy and doing a bit of this and a bit of that. But as I was just saying, I'm just enjoying a bit of downtime, to be honest. That trip tired me out. So yeah, just a bit of this and a bit of that. And I feel like getting back into the training at some point in the next couple of weeks. Who knows when? But no, it's still putting everything together for next year. We've got some exciting stuff coming. I won't spoil the surprises. All I can really tell you is that Dan is staying with us. So, but yeah, we're stepping up, and it's going to get better again for us.
Cool. Well, first up on the show, we are delighted to welcome back the 2020 UCI Downhill World Cup champion, Madison Saracen's Matt Walker. How good does that sound, Matt?
Bloody good, mate. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you ever dream?
Living the dream still. Can we?
How are you doing?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, really good. Had pretty relaxed couple of weeks, just doing a bit of bike riding. Like Jack was saying, there's not much else you can do really. So, bit of trail riding. Just trying to celebrate as much as I can really with the measures we're under at the minute.
Yeah, we kind of had the same frustration in that Dan had obviously won these medals and done real well, and would have loved to throw a party and get his family and my family and everyone involved together.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys are the same, Matt, and it's so frustrating that we can't do that.
Yeah, it is. And like for me, I think it's really important to do something like that, because I think if you don't get the balance right, then I don't want to look back when I'm older and say, oh, that was a really good year. I probably should have made more of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to celebrate it and kind of live it like, milk it for what it's worth kind of thing. And then, and it gives you the motivation to do it again then.
Yeah,
definitely.
You need to let your hair down, don't you?
Yeah, totally, yeah.
To knock some of the stress off. But let me just start by saying that getting in touch with top athletes can be a bit tricky, and trying to pin them down for a podcast even more so. We only started planning this pod yesterday morning, and I dropped you a note just asking if you fancied coming on. You responded within like 2 minutes, I think it was. Tidy, just let me know what daytime suits you. So first question, has it sunk in yet that you're the World Cup champion?
I don't think it will for a while. And especially because of, like we were saying, all these measures and stuff, you can't see everyone.
Yeah.
It was like a crash back down to earth when I got home, back in normal life. But to be honest, I don't think it has fully sunk in yet, but it feels good, and quite a lot of people want to talk to me now.
Well, excuse me. Just FYI, you could probably be a bit more of a diva now if you'd like to be.
No,
You can ignore our emails and stuff now.
So, in our kind of pre-World Champ show, Jack actually picked you as an outsider for Worlds. He'd been talking to your dad, I think, if I remember, and he said you were as hungry as ever. How did you cope with the lockdown?
Pretty well, to be honest. I think pretty well when all the races got cancelled to start with. I was pretty disappointed, obviously, as a lot of us were. But pretty quickly, I decided to kind of use my time as wisely as I could, and being young and kind of trying to get fitter and stronger. And I'm racing against people who are quite a lot older and bigger and stronger than me, so I tried to use the time as wisely as possible. I thought it was a good opportunity to really put some work in. So I think generally, like over an off season, you get 10 or 12 weeks of decent work in, like quality work. So we had a lot more than that this time, obviously. So it was like nearly 3 or 4 off seasons if you kind of planned it right. So I was doing blocks of 3 weeks on, and then I'd have a week off, 3 weeks on, a week off. Well, say like an easier week, not a week completely off. But
Have you been focusing
just kept working really hard, yeah.
Is that like focusing on strength training or a mixture?
No, still a mixture. Like I managed to get hold of some gym equipment, and at my missus's house we had like a little they live on a farm, so they had a load of outbuildings, and we just cleared one of them out, put a squat rack in, carpeted it, put mirrors on the wall, got some free weights in, like made a proper setup, or as good as we could for the conditions we had, kind of thing. So so I had like a proper gym, so I could keep training as normal pretty much with my strength and conditioning stuff. Luckily I can ride from my house. So the first couple of weeks when we couldn't really do anything but exercise, I could still ride like pretty mellow trails just from my house. So that was good, just to get out and road bike stuff really. But for me, it was huge because I felt like I was gaining a lot of confidence from the work I was doing. And I could see on social media and stuff, there was people potentially taking their foot off the gas, which was huge for me because I knew that I was just kept the graft on.
Yeah. And as a professional athlete, that's what you've got to do. You can't can't take a holiday. Like you've got to take the advantage for what it is, and you showed that you made that work. So
yeah, well, the job description doesn't change overnight, does it?
No. I mean, we didn't hear a lot from you in that kind of lockdown COVID period. You're not kind of really busy on the social media.
No.
So how hungry were you to go racing? A lot of people were there talking, but you kind of just kept yourself to yourself. How keen were you?
I was like we said, when the races first got cancelled, I felt like I was in a pretty good spot, and I was hungry to go racing anyway. And then after all that extra work I've been doing, and to be honest, like I had a bit of a rough second half of the year last year, so it was good for me to have that time. And how I felt riding locally in the summer during the lockdown was towards the end, I was riding the best I've ever ridden, and I could feel that. It was just, I didn't really particularly need like a time to tell me that, just the feeling you get when you're riding well.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of confidence from that as well. So I was super hungry to go racing. I'd seen obviously the French Cups. There was a lot of people going out and doing them. I wasn't particularly bothered whether I should go and do them or not. And it didn't really bother me that people were going and racing. I've raced for a lot of years now, so I didn't feel like I needed warm-up races before you get into Worlds or whatever.
Where did the decision come from not to race the summer before the World Champs?
Just my I guess, my quite intimate, small support network. So me, my performance coach, Phil Dixon, and Will Longdon, team manager.
Yeah.
There was an option, of course, for me to go and race some races. I know Danny went out and did, I think he did the Alpe d'Huez one.
No, the one after. Les
Oh,
Dries.
the one after, Les Dries, was it?
Yeah, yeah, because I did Alpe d'Huez and he wasn't there. I was the only Brit there. He was there for a week.
Les Dries, I think he did then.
Yeah.
So there was an option for me to go and do that. There was an option for me to do another one, maybe Meta BF, I think, one of the last ones.
Yeah.
Was that the
but in the end, like, the COVID situation was going up and down. And to be honest, we had a really good window from like end of June, July, August. That was pretty good, when most people were out in the Alps.
Yeah.
And then French Cup's going on. That was quite a good opportunity to do some races. And I didn't really feel like at that point in July, there was going to be World Cup straight after. So I didn't race them. And then I was looking for some, maybe Meta BF, which was like the last one before World Champs. It was like a couple of weeks before, maybe, or a few weeks before.
Yeah.
So I was going to go and do that one. But then just the COVID situation, it got quite a bit tighter.
Mm-hmm.
And we just didn't think it was worth it. And there was a couple of people that had gone to these races and tested positive.
Right.
So we just didn't think it was worth it, really.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So obviously, the COVID situation brought a lot of uncertainty, the lockdown, and then we were going into a super short season later in the year. Was the fact that it was a short season and later in the year with the opportunity for, well, not the opportunity, but the potential for damper, wetter conditions, was it all kind of starting to feel good to you going into the races?
Yes and no. Like, it was difficult because I'd not done a race yet.
Yeah.
So I was just hoping that I'd put all this work in, and I was just hoping it was going to pay off.
Yeah.
Because I had no kind of, apart from obviously numbers in the gym is one thing, but racing your bike and race results are a completely different thing. And I didn't have that. That was the only thing that was uncertain. Like I was saying to family and friends before I went away, like, there's no stone left unturned apart from a race run, like a time race run. Everything's in place to go and do my best. So that was it, really.
Yeah. So you knew you were in a good place, but there's no telling until the beeps go, I guess, is there?
No, that's it, exactly. And I was just hoping, as you say, that because it's short and compact, I was hoping that when I hit the ground running kind of thing, and I was on a roll.
Yeah.
I could just keep the good results going, because it's difficult when you're not where you want to be, and it's really, really hard to turn it around in a normal season. When the races are spaced out nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
So when they're super compact, it's definitely more of a challenge.
Following on from something George said before, about me picking you as a whatever for World Champs, and you coming out strong at the start of the season. You've done that three times now. You've, at the start of the races, you've been like a red hot iron, and you beat Daniil at the Nationals the 2 years before. This year you've obviously come out and won the World Cups. I've known you since you were you 14 or 15 when you came on that trip with us to Spain?
14, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so I've kind of seen how serious you've been about your racing over that time. My question is, how do you think you do get such a good start to a race season? Because that's 3 in a row.
It's difficult to answer. Like, I think I properly invest in myself in the winter, and I take a lot of confidence from that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. And I don't know, I'm just naturally like really competitive, and I just get a lot of motivation. And I think that time off helps me, because I can actually put some proper work in, and I gain a lot from that, really. Probably more, it's difficult, isn't it? But I would like to say I gain more from that and from the process, shall we say, than race results themselves.
Let me ask you a question, which might kind of help you out, help you answer it. You just mentioned before that last year you felt yourself go off the boil a little bit, or whatever you want to call it, for the second half of the season. If you remember, we were sat, I think it was last year, we were sat in that chairlift in Innsbruck. That was last season.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Yeah, so we were sat in that lift the week after Leogang, and you said to me, I just want to go home, and
Yeah.
I want to get back in the gym, and I want to get training, because you'd not done as well as you'd felt. And then you didn't spin it back around for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Why is it you think you find it harder to turn a season on its head rather than come out of the blocks running? I think that makes sense.
It's difficult. Last year was, like you said, I started really well. And I won the National, the IXS, and then podium at a World Cup.
Yeah.
And for me, I think what happened was I gained huge confidence from that and took a lot from the results.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I was like kind of riding this wave. And then I was overconfident in my riding.
Okay.
And that's the mistake that I made. I felt, well, I'm riding the best I've ever ridden. I'm invincible now.
Yeah. Okay.
And it just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And that was quite a tough pill to swallow, and like quite a hard lesson to learn. So the difference this year is I came out of the blocks good again,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew this time, right, keep a lid on it, because it can go wrong at any time, and that's the nature of the game. So just be aware. And I remember like telling myself after every race, okay, that was a good race, like, but put that away now and go again for tomorrow from the start.
Yeah.
And I just managed to keep a lid on it,
Nice.
keep my emotions separate to my bike riding head, and it paid off. So I think that's where the consistency definitely come from this year.
Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't kind of getting caught up in the hype and the like riding this wave. You know, I although that's for sure what I was doing, I was just on form and just plugging away at every race.
Yeah, and that just supports the concept that you learn so much more from the things you do wrong
Oh, totally.
than you do right. Like I've had that before with things where you take loads from your mistakes, and what you just said there. Every time I saw you when we were away, obviously I know you so super well from all the years.
Yeah.
You were just so serious every time I saw you, and I was obviously buzzing because you just got this result. I'm like, well done, Matt, well done. You'd be like, I could tell you were just like, I'm
it's funny actually. Will said, like,
and I was like, just
after the World Cup, well, after that final race in Loser, Will said, like, since the minute I got on the truck, I didn't miss a beat. And he said the last week in Loser, I was just like not there, like glazed over, just so focused on the job, and it's
so good.
Quite funny to say that. Yeah.
Can I just say, Jack, my wife would dispute that what you said. Apparently, I do loads of stuff wrong, and I never learn anything. So, one of the bits of feedback we've had about this podcast is that people don't like the stats, and we've tried to cut back on them, but sometimes they're just too good to ignore. So, Maribor Race 1, qualified 3rd, finished 4th. Maribor Race 2, qualified 5th, finished 3rd. Lucer Race 1, qualified 2nd, finished 2nd. Lucer Race 2, qualified 3rd, finished 3rd. So that's 8 races, because that's what the qualifiers are nowadays. Never off the podium. Tell us a bit about how you achieved that consistency.
There's no secret. This is what I've learned. Looking into successful people in the past, there might be a secret, but there isn't. There's no
listeners are just waiting for you to tell them what the secret is.
Yeah, there's no secret to it. But I don't know. It's just a lot of hard work over the years and like belief. But to be honest, it is strange because I'm spouting all this stuff, but I don't really feel like I've done anything different to the past. Like when I'm riding down the hill, I don't feel like I'm riding, I don't hit a section or a few corners and go, oh, that's the best I've ever done it. Like it doesn't feel much different. It's just you're fitter, you're stronger, you can deal with it better, so you can go faster. Yeah. And when you say go faster, it's like 0.2, 0.3.
It's average speed, isn't it?
A couple of corners, yeah, just average speed is just tiny bit faster, and you're just more intense all the way down. And in a 4.5 minute track, it makes such a difference. So
100%.
What percentage are you riding at? Those eight runs there. How close to the edge are you?
Some are different to others. Like generally in a qualifying run, I try and tell myself, right, just get a solid one down here. It doesn't. Although most people take it everyone takes it like a race these days. It's always just a qualifying run. Just get down the hill, get some solid, get the races tomorrow, get yourself in a solid place for that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of always how I've approached it. But when you're actually riding, you're going pretty much as hard as you can, I would say. But not 100%, because I've kind of ridden like that in the past and it hasn't really paid off. It's difficult. I think to be that consistent, I don't think I'm fully riding out my skin.
Yeah.
And I don't think for me I've kind of proved this year that it's not something I need to do or something that I gets me the best results. I think it's just a trust in my ability and my fitness that if I can just ride down and I get to the bottom and I can turn around and say, right, I'm happy with how I rode today, then my result will be there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it's been since I've been youth, bar last year. But yeah, I don't know. You go pretty hard, but some sections, I don't know, it's different. I try and split track down as well. So like in the sections that I'm comfortable in, right, you go flat out as hard as you can because you're comfortable in those sections. You feel there's less risk. Let's go proper. Like the sprint at the bottom of loser or things like that, there's low risk. You just go as hard as you can. You don't go 90%.
Yeah.
But then there's other sections where you think, right, I'm not quite so comfortable. The bike maybe doesn't feel quite as good in these sections. So we'll go 90% in those bits or 85% in them bits. Yeah. It's just a balance.
I think the other thing people need to, sorry, George, the other thing people need to understand as well is when we're racing, it's not like enduro where you may have walked it or you may have ridden it once and then you're just kind of chancing your apples down the course.
Yeah.
We've probably walked it 2 or 3 times before that finals run. We've visualized it God knows how many times. We've practiced it over 10 times. And it's not an erratic hurl yourself down the track. You know where your gear changes are. You know where your braking points are. It's all about, like Matt said, keeping average speed high, entering, exiting sections with good fluidity so that all the way down the course, you're just moving towards a finish, how you've practiced and how you've planned.
Yeah,
I made the mistake in loser for race 3. I did my qualifying and it was the first day I couldn't feel my ankle when I warmed up. So I come down, smooth quali, through to finals, and I said to my mechanic, we're going tomorrow. Like, I'm not in pain anymore when I'm warm. I'm gonna wind it on. And I hadn't been pushing hard the whole time we were away until that point. And I just did exactly the opposite to what Matt just said. I rode like an idiot from start to finish. I didn't hit any of the lines I'd practiced. I didn't focus on braking points. I just went as hard as I could. And it was 100% effort, and it was 41st. 2 days later, I turned my brain back on and had a run that I felt like I could have done 10 times over, and I came 23rd.
Yeah, it's
it's not just chancing your apples; it's doing what you've practiced and what you've prepared for.
Yeah, it's calculated aggression with that as well.
So, at what point did you kind of think this could be on the title? Was it after Loris's flat in race 3?
Yeah, really, yeah. But to be honest, at that point, it was so late in the championship, and I thought I've well exceeded everything I could have possibly hoped for this year. So if I come 1st or 5th, it doesn't really make any odds to me. But that's what I thought. And then I crossed the line on Sunday, and I thought, nah, I'm bloody glad I won this now.
I was going to say, you didn't look like that's what you were thinking when you crossed the line.
No.
Well, I guess that feeds nicely into what I was just about to ask you. What kind of pressure were you feeling coming into that final race?
Not an awful lot, to be honest. Like, quite a few people have asked me that. Like, it must have been pretty difficult to do what you did with the leader's jersey on and the extra pressure and stuff. But there's been points in everyone's career where you have doubts, and I've certainly thought to myself in the past, I wonder if I'll ever get to wear one, like at all.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of people who race mountain bikes for years, 10, 15 years, and they never get the opportunity. So at that point, to even just to wear it, I was over the moon. So
I'm still holding out hope.
I might lend you his, George. Yeah.
That's the closest I'm ever going to get.
Me too, pal. Me too.
So yeah, I mean, I was just grateful to have got to that point, really, and I knew what I was doing was working, and I was riding well, and I didn't need to change anything just because I got another layer on.
Yeah, too right. Did that calmness follow through all the way from, you know, when you left the pits to go up and warm up at the top, and through your warm up at the top, and then all the way to the gate? Did you hold that calmness all the way, or did at any point did you go, oh no, I really want this?
Yeah, there was always a little bit of that, and then when the rain started, that was another spanner in the works.
Yeah,
and I was sat at the top under the umbrella, and I thought, well, of anyone, I'm in the best position here, because they obviously I've got the most points.
Yeah.
So they're chasing for a starting point, and I'm like, I'm young, and I've got plenty more opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, it depends how long Greg goes on for.
Yeah, fair play.
And I knew how hungry they would be for it. So for it to start raining, they've really got to pull everything out of the bag, and the pressure's on them. So I was sat at the top, kind of looking round, almost just watching people's heads roll off, and yeah, it was quite good. It was just another little thing just to spice it up, but I didn't mind at all. Like, as I said, the pressure wasn't on me, or I didn't feel like the pressure was on me. So
yeah,
and I didn't know at the time. Like, you and my mechanic did actually ask me about 5 minutes, because I spend like 10 minutes just riding around my downhill bike. It was about 5 minutes before that, so about 10-15 minutes before my run, he said, do you want to know how Loris has got on? Because he'd already set off. And I was tempted.
Yeah.
I thought, no, I'm all right. I'm just going to go. I'll go out the gate and I'll just go as hard as I can. I'd rather not be thinking about getting to the bottom faster than anyone else. I'll just do my own thing. And obviously, because it was quite slippy at that point, we had a couple of messages up from Will, who was in the finisher, and the only information he gave me was, it looks like the track is running a bit slower. Just set off and feel the grip for yourself and just try and get into it. That's all he gave me. But he did tell me after that Danny came down and said, it's like a fucking ice rink.
That's not what you want to hear.
And he said, I can't tell him that.
No.
So he didn't say, but
no, you don't want to hear that.
Yeah, so that was it. But
impression. You've clearly spent 3 years with him. You nailed that. So how grateful were you that the races were double headers, and between round 3 when you took the leader's jersey and round 4 you just had a night's sleep rather than potentially 4 weeks?
Yeah, it was bittersweet, because it would have been nice to come home and say, well, we got it, we got the jersey.
But you can do that now, right?
I can do that now, yeah. So it's all right now.
If you'd lost,
maybe it would have been a bit different if I didn't win the overall. And I was like, I've got this jersey, but I did keep it, so we'll just put it in the back of the wardrobe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably good in some ways, because I didn't overthink it. Didn't have time to overthink it. Just got on with the job as I had been the couple of weeks.
And were you a fan of the double headers? Would you like to see them again?
Yeah, I would like to see them again. Not all the time, but
it
does add a different element, because you can see it with some of the younger riders. Well, especially for sure, if we had double headers in the past, I would have been the same. You see at the start of the week, they are really strong, and then they start to go back, especially on like Loser's pretty physical track, or one of the most physical tracks we've ridden. So it's definitely a different element to it. So yeah, I'd like to see the venues that obviously can cater for it quite well. Like Maribor was quite good because it was a little bit shorter, the track, and the sections were short, and there was a few of them. So I think that worked quite well.
Yeah.
But like somewhere like Fort William, you wouldn't really be able to do it.
No.
So I think it'd be nice to do a mix, maybe 1 or 2 a year, just to mix it up.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be too much to ask, because I can't imagine it's too much more expensive or it's probably more cost effective to run a double header than run 2 separate races.
Oh, definitely, 100%. Yeah,
and especially if they start getting crowds back, they'll make a killing because they've got everything there. They charge us again, and then they got the
crowd. And half the prize money. Money.
Well, you're actually. Here we go. Then we weren't even going to ask this, but as someone who it's affected at every round this year, people might not know this, but our entry fees were doubled this year because we were racing 2 rounds, which you might think, all right, fine. But then they split the prize money in half. So, go on, Matt, how did you feel?
Yeah, I don't really understand it, to be honest, but we can't change it, can we? So, quickly, how much was it? Because I'm not sure if the UCI Elite teams pay, or do they?
The entry fees?
Yeah.
160 for the double. So 80 euros per race.
Right.
And then juniors were half that, which was good. I was impressed.
Plus your COVID tests.
Oh, I spent over $1,000 of the team's budget on COVID tests this year. In Maribor, they were literally just making money out of us for the sake of it. Like, we had to have one before we arrived. So turn up on Monday with a negative test to get our.
Then have another one on Tuesday.
Yeah, and then on the Tuesday it was 153 euros per person for another test. Like, why? Like,
it's just, I know you're negative the day before.
Yeah,
I know it's bonkers.
Anyway, I'll digress on that.
You mentioned Fort William a few minutes ago, and last time we talked, which was season 1, episode 5, for anybody who hasn't listened to that episode, we talked about that huge crash you had in Fort William at the National, and I might be dreaming, but I think you've just referenced it a little bit earlier as well. Did I hear somewhere in the last few weeks that crash taught you a lot, and you've been thinking about that? Is that the bit you were talking about a few minutes ago where you got carried away? Was it that crash?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, and you learned so much from that.
Yeah, definitely. Like I was saying before, that was purely just overconfidence, just riding just slightly when my brain turned off a bit too much, and just riding with too much confidence. And that's so just a key thing really from last year to this year, is that I've learned that overconfidence is as negative as like underconfidence, not having confidence at all. It's the outcome is the same.
Yeah, you've got to be sat in that comfortable bracket, haven't you? That big crash I had in Maribor this year when I injured myself, like, it was the opposite. I came into the top woods not committed enough, and ended up a little too back seat as we went off that fly off onto the roots, and my back wheel just smashed me up the arse, and because I wasn't fully committed, the front end dived and just had a huge one. Whereas if I'd just been riding normally, they wouldn't have hit me, and I would have maybe had a small wobble. But yeah, you've got to be, not underconfident, not overconfident. You've got to be sat exactly where you need to.
Yeah, the way that I see it is like, like people talk about this flow state that you're in when you're riding, when you're racing. But I think it also it definitely is relevant when you're just practicing and riding your bike. Yeah. It's almost like, when you just walk up the stairs or walk down the stairs, you don't need to think about it. You just do it. Your body just knows how to do it. Yeah. So that is kind of what I've been trying to apply to not only my race runs, but all weekend. Yeah. Like, not getting stressed if you make a mistake in practice, because let's face it, we're all human. Everyone makes mistakes. Mm-hmm. So you just get on with it. But obviously, like yourself, Jack, one of the only reasons, or a big contributing factor in getting us as high up in elite sport as we are, is because our brain is so good at seeing stuff and making our body react to what we see. Mm-hmm. Like, because your brain is so fast at doing that, that's what allows you to ride your bike as fast as you can.
100%.
So if you just let your brain do it and take emotion out of it, then you'll perform much better.
Yeah.
So that's like a big thing for me.
Punches, for sure.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. But what I find is, like you said, if you come in and you're thinking, oh, I need to get this right, or I feel a bit nervous here, you sit back and then you don't ride as well as you could.
Yeah.
If there's no emotion and you just like a downhilling machine, you stand on your bike properly, you turn properly, you look where you're meant to be looking, and everything just kind of flows a lot easier. So that was a big thing for me because last year I was really suffering, like mentally after the crash. I was struggling to even little things like I'd be looking at the front wheel because I'm not confident enough to look up and let the brakes off. And then because I'm looking down, I'm looking at everything on the floor because I think everything is a threat to me.
Yeah.
You know, all the roots, all the rocks, they're it's like a threat to me. So
Oh, I know that feeling.
Thinking, avoid that because you might get hurt. And that's just the mental state that you're in when you have an injury like that. And it's just apart from the injuries healing, I've never had it where mentally you're not quite there again after you crash.
Yeah,
it's the first kind of experience I've had of that. And I guess the last time I spoke to you, George, on the podcast, I was going through the motions with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, time's the biggest healer. I just got over it really in the end, and with a little outside help.
Juniors, you had a real battle with Finn, and he got the better of you on, well, most of the time actually in juniors. But coming in with all that expectation, it kind of hasn't really happened for him in elite, and you've jumped ahead. Did you think you'd eventually get past him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you work for, isn't it? I mean, you get in front of everyone.
Yeah.
You need just another number.
Yeah. Have you how you were chasing Finn then? Has there been a rider in elite that you've been trying to? Is it like? Are you?
No, not really. I think since I've got to elite, I've kind of focused on myself a lot more.
Yeah.
There's too many guys that can win, that can challenge. Like in junior, if I rode well, there's only one guy that could beat me. Mm-hmm. But now if I ride okay, there's going to be 10 guys that can beat me, or 15 guys, or whatever. You know, it's a totally different ball game. You can't focus on a couple of guys and focus on what lines they're riding and what lines do I need to be doing because they're doing it. There's too many options, so you just got to think about yourself. Which is quite a change, but I think it's better.
Why do you think some riders kind of struggle to make the step up? Because Thibaut de Prella, he seemed to fade a little bit towards the end of this season, which is obviously first year elite, and like you talked about before, probably a lack of strength. But you must have been impressed with like how quickly he's adapted to the elites. Yeah,
it's really impressive. I mean, on the face of it, it's the same.
Yeah.
But the more you get into it, there's a lot of things that change. So to move from junior to elite and be on the podium is pretty impressive. I'm not sure. I think, did Finn do it in his first year?
What podium? Yeah, I think he had a fourth.
Did he? Andorra. I mean, there's not many that do it.
No.
So, and he was consistent like Maribor.
Yeah.
You could argue it was the same track, so maybe it's not.
Yeah.
As credible, but I don't think so. I think he's done a bloody good job, to be honest.
100%. You know, moving on from that, having come through as a junior, taking junior world championships, do you think the separate junior series is a help, or do you think it hinders in terms of stepping up into the elites?
No, I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. I think because also it gets the media attention on younger riders, and it gives an opportunity for younger riders to get on elite teams as well before they go to elite, which I think is really important. Like obviously probably your age, Danny's age, I think you just went from a junior from when you were 16 or 17, you just went straight into the elite and you had to qualify in the top 80 to even race. So
definitely.
I think that's pretty difficult. I think having a junior category is a good step.
I think it would be now in particular. If you look at how much the sport's moved on, we've talked about it before about how much Gwyn moved the sport on with the physicalness. It is boys against men, and it's down to 60 places. Right. It would be very difficult for more than a handful of junior riders to make it to qualify at any World Cup, I think.
100%.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
and it strangulates the sport because, this is something that I think is an issue at the moment. With you've got juniors like yourself and Thibaut and Finn who super talented. You've had the junior results. You can come into the elites and compete straight away. But Henry Kerr is an example I've used a few times in a few different scenarios where you've got a junior there who has had junior podium results, but not super consistent, didn't win anything, but he's a big talent. and
Yeah, yeah.
could do well in the sport and could make a career and a living out of the sport. However, he comes into elite with only 60 spots, and there aren't enough teams to provide 60 places for riders.
No.
He's on a team, but in his first year, he kind of didn't qualify much, and that can kind of leave some of these juniors without that kind of stepping stone of a couple of years just to find their feet.
Definitely.
And you can see them drifting away. And I personally think they either need to have like an extended junior category where they maybe get 3 years, but riders like you and Thibaut could do 2 years and say, I'm ready, I want to go to elite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult as well because at that age, at that time in your life, your mates at home are making money.
Yeah.
And if you want to make it to World Cups, it's a balance between, right, I probably need to train and ride my bike more than I need to work, but then I need to work to get to the races, if you don't have support. So what do you do? I mean, the easy way out is to just not do it anymore.
Yeah, too right. And that's where I think the UCI and other people need to step up. Like my team is a small team, but we do what we can to help people, as in riders.
Yeah.
And I'd love to help more riders than I do. But the fact of the matter is, the UCI make it so expensive that, and by expensive, I'm talking about pit space. If I was to give more riders support at races, I would need more room. Now, there is more room there, but they don't let us use it unless you pay for it. Now, my team can't afford that. So that's potentially one of the main things standing in the way of me taking an extra 2 young riders to world events and not being able to. And it's just, why not? Like, we're not doing it out the back of a van like gypsies. We've got a proper tent. We've got all the banners. We've got the tools and mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
And it's such a shame that the kind of smaller teams aren't supported and promoted by the UCI to help riders come through.
It seems like nowadays, there's a huge divide. Like, people are saying there's less and less privateers. Well, we saw this year, usually there's, 120 men at a race trying to qualify, and now there was 80 or 81.
Oh, yeah.
There's not many at all. And those riders are not missing from the top 40 or the top 50.
Not particularly.
They're missing from 70th place to 90th, 100th or 110. That's where the riders are missing. It seems like nowadays you have all the top riders on the top teams, and then like a few local guys that it's their local track and they want to do a World Cup and they've got the points and they're doing it. There doesn't really seem to be like a kind of privateer scene as much anymore. And I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. I can kind of see both sides. Like, I saw Eddie put a thing on, probably a month ago now, and having a dig at the UCI about it. And you will know a lot more than me about it, of course, but I can kind of see both sides. Like, if you look at F1, or I know that's really at the pinnacle, but MotoGP, even World Superbikes or any motorsport like that, you don't have any privateers really in the paddock.
No.
But mountain biking is a different sport.
100%. And the thing I think is,
accessible to people, isn't it, than buying a 40-50 grand motorbike or 120 grand car or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's the end. Well, God, we could talk about this for hours, but one of the things that's wrong is the entry into a World Cup. Like, I think it's too easy for people in certain countries to get points. People always complain that there's no UCI races in the UK. Well, I've said this before. There was no point in Cy Payton paying the UCI $3,000 or whatever it was to make a national series, a UCI race, because you had to finish top 15 to get one UCI point. It doesn't matter because those places are going to be filled by riders like us. We already have 300 UCI points.
Yeah.
We don't need them. So, but then you've got races in, let's use Brazil as an example, where these guys can get these UCI points and come to a World Cup with 150 UCI points, but they can't ride the track. So they're in Group A practice with us, where A and B is supposed to be separated. So the slower riders who are chancing their apples or getting into it, or however you want to call it, separate from you and Minar and myself. But they've got 150 points, so they're in Group A, going around a B line and cutting across the landing of a drop.
Yeah, I see. Yeah,
it doesn't. That aspect doesn't make sense. And then what I was initially going to say was, I understand that they need to keep the sport professional, and I completely agree with that. But instead of cutting out privateers and younger riders and strangulating it by making it smaller, why not introduce requirements? You're not coming in the pits with a scruffy, scrapped out vehicle. Sorry, you're not coming in. You need to, you need to have an easy up. You need to have a banner, and you need to behave respectable. Like it would be way better, in my opinion, to encourage these small teams and help them to look the part, even if they're not necessarily the part, and they're just learning and helping riders, rather than just cut them out altogether.
I'm interested to see how you're going to get this back on script here, Jack, now.
I know, I could literally talk about that all day.
We're
Matt,
so far off script here.
Yeah, Matt, how's the mullet? That's the next question.
That's the next question. I was like...
Is that the next question?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
That is next. Yeah, you are on a mullet this year. Is that correct?
Moving swiftly on. Yeah, yeah, I am. I've been since since the winter, start of the winter, pretty much. Basically, I'd ridden a 29er since I think about July or August time, 2017.
Wow.
So quite a long time, and pretty much since they were about, really. And Saracen were pretty good. They built a bike from scratch. They didn't kind of wedge some big wheels in a 650 frame or anything. They did a proper job from scratch, redesigned the bike to make it work. And I rode it, I rode the evolutions of that for the next 3 years, which was really good. But at the end of last year, I kind of come to the point where I just needed something different. I needed a change. I think it was my mindset as well at the time. I just needed something fresh, something new, just to spice it up and just for something for me to focus on apart from myself, really, just try and get me back in the swing of things a little bit. And it was just healthy change. So up until that point, we did have the option the year before. Danny rode the mullet the year before. But I was never really interested in trying it. I felt like I was confident, and on the 29 I didn't really need to change anything. I knew I was riding well. I knew it was going to work for me, so that was fine. I was happy with that. And then obviously back in 2019 things changed a little bit for me, and as I said before, I felt like I needed a bit of a change, so I jumped on it and felt really good on it, to be honest. I was thinking potentially it might roll a bit slower, but I didn't notice that at all. I just felt straight away like I could ride it more aggressively. Felt like I could turn it when I wanted to turn it, and I could be more playful. And it kind of reminded me of how I used to ride as a youth and a junior, like in the UK, like quite aggressively, and like I'd have like quite an aggressive stance on the bike and like attack my way down the track. And on a 29er, I found I kind of had to dampen that a little bit, because that's not really to get the most out of a 29er, I didn't feel that's how I should ride it. I felt like on a 29er, you kind of just sit in the middle of the wheels, and it's so super stable, and the wheels just move either side of you, and it just plows through stuff. You need to like set up for corners a little bit more or whatever. It's just a slightly different way of riding. When I come back to the mullet setup, I thought, I clicked with it, and I felt it was nice. I could, especially in the UK, because that's where I was testing it to start with, obviously, and the tracks are relatively, they're quite a lot slower than abroad and tighter and stuff, and it felt really good. So it was positive straight away. And then I took it to Ponte de Lima, where I'd done a lot of testing before, and I went faster than I did the previous year on the 29er. So that was enough for me. By that point, to be honest, I think without even the time in Ponte de Lima, I would have ridden the mullet anyway. I think generally that's the way it's kind of going, unless you're a taller rider. So I was happy with it, and I was glad that I took the option to try it and made the change when I did, really, because maybe I would have been kicking myself if I was still on a 29er now, and if I'd made the discovery, actually this is better for me, if I'd realised that now, I maybe would be feeling like it was 1 year too late.
Yeah.
So
has yours arrived yet, Jack?
No, we've got some on the way from Commensal before the end of the year. So as soon as we're allowed to go and do some uplifts somewhere, we'll get out and get testing on those. I mean, Dan's only a midget; he's 5'7", so he'll definitely be riding the mullet. He got on fine with the 29er, but obviously did get some ass buzzing, and even myself, like as Matt says, like if you're riding real smooth and real nice and you're nice and relaxed, you'll maintain that good position on the bike where you're not kind of rocking around.
yeah.
But if you get a little messy or if you get a little rushed or make a mistake or whatever, hey dog, then yeah, you'll buzz your ass or you'll feel like you get hung up or something. So I think I've done a little bit of testing on the mullets without changing the geometry of the bikes, and even with that I've been able to tell they turn better. You can kind of be a bit messier and get away with it. So I think it'll suit me for sure.
Yeah.
I have to ask about the Danny thing because I think you and him are pretty good mates, aren't you?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, we're close. Yeah.
Firstly, do you have any idea why Madison would release that news when they did? And secondly, kind of how did you deal with it?
From the first point, not really. It's not anything really to do with me, so I try and stay out of it as much as possible. And to the second point, did it affect me? Not really. Like there was quite a lot of tension at times in the pits, and this is not unusual. It happens in a lot of teams, you know, different times. But me and Danny, we work on kind of separate programs anyway. He likes to go and do his own thing. Like you've probably seen at races, he's up there and he's one of the first men down the hill in the morning and things like that. He's not going to be waiting for me to go and practice with. He's on his own program, and likewise I'm the same with him. Obviously we share information and lines and stuff. We can openly talk to each other about that kind of thing, but whatever is going on in his corner between him and Madison is not my problem. So I stay out of it as much as I can and keep on my own program.
Yeah,
and that's it. So I mean, for me to get involved, it's only gonna take away from me at the end of the day. So
well,
and I think. Sorry, George, just 1 second. I think that is just kind of highlights even more how well you've done this year. So the fact that you've raced out of a pit where there is going to be that tension, obviously it helps that you and Danny personally actually get on. So you can
totally,
leave it alone. But still, the fact that you're racing out of a pit where, I mean, I was in Maribor when that news got dropped, and I was like, what are they doing? Couldn't believe that was dropped when it was before the first race. So yeah, fair play for keeping your head and staying focused through all that. Sorry, George.
No, I was going to say basically exactly the same thing. It's obviously you've done really well to manage it. You know, it's a difficult situation, just another hurdle, really.
Yeah, this is it, mate. This is life. You go through difficult times and you just get on with it, don't you? That's it. It's not, like I say, it's not unusual. No. Things like that happen most years with different teams. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. It's just the industry we're in.
There's a lot of lads your age wouldn't deal with it as well. So yeah, fair play.
On to next season then. You're going to be the lead rider on the team. Are you feeling any more pressure with that?
No, not really. I think it's really nice. This is kind of the position I've always dreamt of being in. So to put loads of pressure on myself would not be a good thing. I think if I was not doing as well as I had been or have been, and then I was made lead rider, I'd maybe feel like almost a bit guilty or that I'm not fully deserving of a lead ride in the team yet. But because I've been doing...
Putting the one balls on, mate. Should be lead rider.
But as I've been doing as well as I have, I'm quite happy to take on that role. I feel like I'm ready to take on that role in the team and look after the younger riders if I can and put them in the right direction, as well as alongside Will and the coach Dixie. So,
are there any more commitments? Have you from what you've got to do now? You've won the World Cup overall.
No, No, not really. Just a few more podcasts, interviews, smiling and waving, and bike riding. So, yeah.
Funny. All right. It could be argued that you weren't on a lot of people's radar for 2020. I mean, I obviously picked you as one of the guys I was fancying for doing well this year. Do you feel like you're going to be generally more of a marked man now going into next year? Obviously.
Hopefully. I feel like I've been under the radar for a long time now.
Yeah.
And, I've kind of showed people what I can do on quite a few different occasions now. So hopefully they've got the message.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
No, 100%. Well, I mean, a lot of people look at Greg's podium record of 80, and then he's just amazingly added an extra win onto his GOAT tally to take him, I think, to 22, which is, as you said earlier, with the amount of riders that are in the mix for a win nowadays, that's, a high watermark to reach again. Do you set yourself targets to aim for things like that? Is that something you look at?
Not, I think, not in the long run. Not in the long term, not really, no. No, I've got one overall. It'd be nice to have another one. A big thing for me is, yes, I've won the overall, but I've not won a race yet.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing for me is moving into the future is I'd like to take a World Cup win next year.
Yeah.
And obviously world champ, so I've not done that as an elite. So
yeah,
there's still plenty of things I can achieve.
Yeah, right.
If you achieve it once, achieve it twice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not going to sit here and blow too much smoke up your ass, but I kind of look at the circuit now, and out of the riders that are around coming through, I see you as one of the guys who can take over that kind of mantle from Minar. I mean, whether you could say Loic's doing it, I'm not sure. He's kind of there sometimes and not others, but yeah. I gambled on you on the Sunday, and I said to the lads, I was like, he's going to do it, and you did. And I'd gamble again and say that in 10 years' time, you'll potentially still be in the mix for the race wins and added to the tally. That's from what I see looking in from the outside. So a couple of new riders on the team next season, Veronica, and then young Jordan Williams, who Dan tells me is going to be a rider to watch in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
You pretty excited to be mentoring?
Yeah, it'll be good. Whether I'll take on a mentor role is not really in my interest, to be honest. I'm still super young, and I've got my.
How old are you, Matt?
To work on. Huh?
How old are you now? 21?
21, yeah.
Jesus, yeah. I mean, you can help him, but you're not exactly over the hill, are you? So.
This is it. I'm still climbing it. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully, when I was on the team at his age, I had Mark Beaumont and Simmons to kind of learn a lot from. So hopefully, if I can kind of pass on a few lessons that they taught me, and I can teach him, because going to World Cups is, like you say, like you've had with Dan this year, is quite a learning curve for them. So, but yeah, I mean, as well as me, Longdon has been on the circuit for a lot of years, and he knows the drill pretty well. So he's in safe hands, whether I was there or not, to be honest.
Is he a first year junior?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, first year junior.
I think we do have to congratulate Will as well, because I mean, when did you join the team? Were you 13?
Yeah, it would have been January 2014. So I was.
Is that youth?
First year youth, yeah.
So you've done about.
I only did 1 year of dyno racing, not on Madison.
Yeah, exactly. So you've been under Will's leadership, mentor, whatever you want to call it, since that age, and he must be absolutely thrilled to see what you've now brought home for the team. So
yeah, I think so. I think he's like a proud father.
Yeah. Now, I see you guys at the races, and obviously with me mentoring Dan, and I've obviously watched Will kind of helping you over the years, and I have learned things from the way he is around you guys. So yeah. Play to Will.
No, he's done a stellar job. Like I wouldn't have nothing really. I wouldn't have anything of my accolades without his support. And yeah, I mean, top credit to him. He's done a really, really good job, and he manages the team absolutely perfectly. He runs a tight ship, and everything's exactly how it should be. So I'm really proud to ride with it, ride for him and on the team.
Yeah, I can only
So,
see
long may it continue. I mean, I've been there a long time, and I don't want to move. So
yeah, nice.
Credit to him, and like just the support network that I've got at the moment is perfect. And to be lead rider on the team is a nice thing, and I think it's really good it's really nice for all the staff at Madison to see that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, not only Will, but Dom and Kelly at Madison, and all the staff behind the scenes, they've kind of been following me from when I was a kid. So it's nice for them to see that progression and that growth from being a young kid all the way to where I am now. So it's really nice for the the whole Madison family.
And I can only see things going to like the next strength next year. Harry Beloy coming in with you guys. Obviously, Harry still races World Cups for anyone who doesn't know who Harry is, and he's coming in to kind of do a bit of racing, I think, but also help you guys on track. Is that right?
Yeah, he's gonna come and kind of be like, from what I understand, like a bit of an assistant manager with Will.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's with Veronica, so he kind of knows what she needs and how she likes to go about a race weekend, and what she needs from Will and from Harry. So Harry will be able to kind of look over her and help her out a lot, and also like be on the track, and even obviously he'll be in A practice with me, but it's just another set of eyes on the track. So if I miss a line, there's Will to look at it and Harry potentially to ride it, and then he can let me know if it's good or not, and then it's just an extra set of eyes. And it's nice to have someone on the track as well that you can talk to, because sometimes when I'm talking to Will about lines and stuff, because he's not actually riding it, there's always that barrier because he doesn't know how it feels. Which is, to be honest, has never been a problem, but it's just a little bit different sometimes. But when you can speak to another rider that's actually experienced what you're experiencing, it's
100%.
maybe a bit easier to have that conversation at times. So it'll be interesting, but I think it'll be a nice little addition to have Harry in that position, for the team. So I spoke to him a little bit, and they're both really looking forward to joining the team and looking forward to next year. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be good fun.
Matt Simmons still joining you guys? Because he was gonna this year, wasn't he? Obviously, COVID.
Yeah, he was going to this year, but then obviously we had to take a really small team out, just to keep the bubble as small and compact as possible, really. So I don't know whether Harry will kind of fill that role for Matt, or what will play out there. So let's see, but we'll just have to see in the future. But I'm not sure on that one.
Cool.
So, are you back in full training yet? Are you?
No, not yet. I'm going to start first week of December, I think.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
I didn't know when. I'm going to do that. The World Cup champion just said first week December. That's what I'll do. I'll text Dan in a minute. Dan, 1st of December.
No, that's it. I think for me, it's really important to get a good balance now. Like, see people as much as I can. Celebrate as much as I can. And just keep one eye on next year. But I'm going to start training in December, and then I think I'll spend a week or 10 days of training here, and then go to South Africa again for a training camp.
Oh, nice. I've got to ask you. Obviously, I know your dad real well. He supports my team with rock guards. Has he come back down to earth yet?
He's still pissed, I think.
I bet he's gutted he wasn't there, is he?
Oh, they are gutted. Yeah, absolutely gutted. They'll be coming to every single one next year, I bet. If they can. Yeah. Just, well, my mum even more so, because she didn't go to Maribor the previous year.
Right.
So my dad was there like on a lad's holiday.
So she's not seen podium yet.
So mum hasn't seen anything now.
I remember seeing them greet you when you won national champs at Glencoe.
Yeah, exactly.
And I saw how ecstatic they were then. So I can only imagine, like.
Oh, I know. Well, my mum still now goes round to my nan's house and watches the races back. Even now, like however many weeks later. So she said the other day, you've got to watch it again. It's so good.
Yeah. I think
they're just super proud, and it's really cool to be able to like give that to your family, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people may not realize is that of course it's your achievement, but behind you are all these people who have invested years of support and time and whatever. And it's so nice that you guys have now achieved that. And they must be buzzing.
Well,
yeah, absolutely. It's great. It's great.
Thanks for making the time to come on the show today, and best of luck for next season. I think that first win is only just around the corner.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the plan. Thanks very much.
We're supposed to interview about 3 people, weren't we, George? But this is just going to be a Matt Walker episode because we've talked for that long. That's one and done. Easy.
20-minute segments now at an hour.
Hour 10. Done. That was good.
No, I don't mind.
Thanks, guys. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to part 2 of the show. If Matt Walker's just getting going, our second guest is a lady at the opposite end of her career. Just a few weeks ago, Tracey Hannah announced her retirement from the sport. She's retiring as the 11th time Australian National Downhill Champion, 2019 UCI World Cup Champion, and 2006 Junior World Champion. Welcome to the show, Tracey. Not a bad haul, that.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, tell us a little bit about where in the world you are right now.
So I am in a hotel room in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. I've been in here for 13 days, which feels like forever. And I'm getting out tomorrow, which is amazing.
Excited to go home?
Oh my gosh, just excited to breathe some fresh air, get some vitamin D back on my skin. And I'm not an inside person at all, so...
Well, you should live here. We won't get any vitamin D until like April.
No, that's not meant to be.
No, it's not.
I'm not meant to be an inside person.
And how many podcasts?
I mean, Europe is hell.
How many podcasts have you recorded whilst you've been in lockdown?
Not too many, but it has been about 4 hours worth.
Right.
So considering how long I've been in lockdown, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But it's surprising. The more like hermited you are, the more you want to be quiet and hermited. It's kind of, I don't think it's good for social interaction. So like, because you kind of get a worse.
Yeah, I know.
You don't get more social, you get less social. So yeah, the podcasts have been good.
Well, I knew you'd done some because Jack said she's recorded a couple. So I thought we'd try and do something a little bit different rather than asking you the same questions, because I thought you might have been asked the same questions a few times. Have you ever seen a TV program called Inside the Actor's Studio? No. It's this dude, James Lipton, and he interviews famous actors. So I think they've done like 270 episodes or something like that. And he always ends with this questionnaire, which is based on some other dude's questions. But it's a long time since I've watched it, but we've created our own version of that. And we've got 20 questions for you. They're only 2 or 3 words each, which is a bit risky because this whole thing could be done in 10 minutes. But hopefully not. Hopefully it'll spark some stories. So Jack, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. So Tracey, first question. Favorite track from your race career?
Favorite track in my race career is Half Gel. Do you remember that track?
Really?
Yeah, I loved that track so much. Straight out the start gate into 3 huge doubles, and then there was just so much variety, no pedaling. It worked, like whether it was wet or dry. It's a track that was fast and worked, and you're pretty much challenged like the whole way down. Even I'm just like imagining even the final rock garden, like 4 minutes into your run, was so challenging. And yeah, I don't know, that was just my all-time favorite track, and I was devastated when we stopped racing there.
Yeah, it was really good. We went twice, did we?
I think we had world champs there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was
yeah. And that was the year that, I'm pretty sure that was the year that, do you remember Josh Bryson like over jumped that wooden thing?
Smashed his ankle up there.
Was that half? It was half, yeah, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And yeah, that track was just perfect. It had jumps, rock gardens, it had high speed corners, it had natural stuff, it had big fast grassy turns,
Yeah.
It literally had everything. It
Yeah,
was amazing.
It's that bike breaker road gap as well, isn't there?
Wow.
Where,
Yeah, that was
Yes, yes. The natural gap in the
Yeah.
that was like between two rock gardens, I think. And I just remember like when you were racing, there was I don't know what it was. It's like a BYO jazz band. They would be in there like playing their piano and drums, and you'd just hear the band as you went past, and you always not smoked, excuse me,
That's
smelt
classic, man.
weed as you pass through the rock gardens. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
like when you get to Norway, it's such a perfect place, quiet, feels like no one's on the road,
Yeah.
no one's out and about.
That's because
Then you
nobody
have
can
this
afford
mountain
to live
bike
there.
race, and it's just like these guys are wild.
Yeah.
It just gets wild when there's a sport. So, but yeah, that track is. If I could go back there just to ride, I would. It's amazing.
Fair play. Good
okay.
answer.
So next one, least favorite track.
Ooh, Valdesol.
I knew you were going to say that.
I
thought you were going to say
despise-
Cairns for your favourite, but I knew you were going to say Valdesol for your least favourite.
I despise Valdesol. I think it's because Valdesol is the ultimate European matched track. Like if there was a track on the whole circuit that I could say matched like Southern Hemisphere riders the least and European riders the most, it would be Valdesol.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't really know what it is about it. We just have absolutely nothing like that in our part of the world. And when I ride it, no matter how good I'm feeling or what kind of season I'm having, I've just never had the result there. Like I've had the confidence and I felt good, but I just think it's just an extremely hard track if you're from our side of the world.
Have you ever spent any time kind of like what riders like Danny do? Have you ever, earlier in your career, did you ever go and like camp out at venues like that you used to struggle with and try and get into them, or did you just leave it?
Only the venues that it was feasible. Like
Okay.
only the venues that it was kind of possible to hang out at being from Australia. It kind of makes it hard. Valdesol's one of the harder ones because that one you really have to plan for and go to in between the season. It was fine to like go to Fort William or go somewhere like Andorra, but when you say Valdesol, it's extremely hard to get there, even in Europe. So it's like a bit of a logistical night.
Fair play. Okay. Question 3. Who would you say is your greatest rival in your career?
Rachel Atherton for sure. I think that she's the hardest worker. I would almost say women and men's field, but definitely in the women's field, like the hardest worker, the most determined, the most competitive. Like I feel like she's one rider that she really does live and breathe mountain bikes. Like she grew up in mountain bikes. She lives in mountain bikes. Her brothers they have a bike park. They like live in kind of the perfect spot for mountain biking. So I think that there's not really anyone else that lives and breathes mountain biking as much as her, and it's just made her a machine of a rider.
What was it like racing her in that undefeated season? You know, well, it spanned 2 seasons really, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like sometimes we would get together as a group of girls and be like, can we just pretend that that's Rachel and we're having our own race over here? Like, good job, you won today. I mean, Rachel come first, but we would be like, technically, let's say you got first, because everyone would get second and keep swapping, and we'd be like, you won today. That's amazing. But I mean, you can't really be disappointed when she's beating you because she's just an animal. So
fair enough. Who's been your best mate while you've been racing? And I guess you're going to say Mick, but
I seen you said that, but he's my sibling. Do you have siblings?
yeah.
When you said Mick, I was going to be like, that guy hasn't got siblings in. My best pal. My best friend on the circuit is definitely Emily Siegenthaler. we've been super close, and through the ups and downs, she's kind of someone that I've always been able to talk to and be honest with, and she's been honest with me. And like, it's good to like have the team and have Michael and the guys in that, but it's a whole different level when you have like the mental of a girl. Like our psyche is just different. And so me and Emily have been super close, and yeah, she would be one of my closest friends on the circuit and in general for sure.
Nice. Yeah, she's a lovely girl.
Yeah, amazing.
So what would you say your biggest strength has been in your career?
I think I probably have a pretty good mental strength. I'm pretty resilient, and I can move on from things pretty fast. I'd say that if I did have one particular strength in racing, it would be my mental strength. And generally, I'm pretty mentally tough, and I think that everything that I went through as a racer has made me even more resilient. So
Yeah, definitely.
I would probably say mental.
How hard a hit was it not winning the world champs in Kent? Obviously, I was there and I saw how much you and Mick both wanted it. How hard was it?
Yeah, it was devastating.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it took a while to get over that. I had a pretty rough year the year after that. I felt like I did train for that for a good few years. I trained for that specific race, and I was the fastest on the weekend and the fastest on the day. And just to crash out, it's like devastating. But yeah, so getting over it was pretty hard, but I guess that just kind of went on to build my mental strength even stronger. I've been through a lot mentally, but yeah, it was devastating for sure. I just remember this moment after the race had happened, the podium had happened, and you know how they have that like little tent behind the podium? Yeah, me and Michael was sitting like in these two seats, soaked in champagne, crowd outside, it was empty, and we're just sitting there, didn't say a word to each other, like holding our medals.
Yeah.
And nothing had to be said. It was just like we were just devastated because he got second, I got third. And I think moving on from that race is probably one of the harder things that I've had to do.
Yeah, fair play. But you did it in 2019. Obviously, you made up for it. So.
Next question is greatest achievement. Moving
Greatest,
on.
yeah, I mean, definitely the 2019 World Cup overall is my greatest achievement, and the hardest thing I've ever had to do, the hardest season that I've ever been through, and the hardest thing I've worked for, and the hardest thing to balance.
Yeah.
But definitely my greatest achievement for sure.
What was the hardest? You said you used the word hardest there a lot. What was the kind of toughest thing about it? Was it fearing losing it? Was it somebody else chasing you? Was it what was the
hardest thing about it was actually balancing the result. It was balancing between pushing to win a race or accepting being second, third, or fourth to keep the points, to keep the jersey. So it went from like racing at the beginning of the year, I was racing to win, to racing to keep the jersey. And that's like a whole different style of racing, and mentally balancing that, and like accepting each race when you just, every race you're seeing someone else on the top step, someone else beating you, and you know why you're doing it, and you know why you're giving that to them, but it's devastating every single race giving that up for hopefully the jersey at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, having watched from outside, I can't think you'd ever raced and not raced to win.
Yeah, and 2019 was a year where I actually thought about it, because I never think about it. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, I love winning, and 2019 was the year that I was serious. It got serious, and I had to, it wasn't just me. I had my team manager helping me. Like, we're like, every race we made a plan. We're like, okay, this race you can ride, 95%, and you'll get, I really had to plan each race meticulously to hold on to that jersey all season, because one crash and it was gone.
Yeah, definitely. Did
Yeah.
the plan work? What you and Cuscus planned in snowshoe? Did it work out exactly? Did you finish 5th on that race?
Yeah, I finished 5th. I mean,
Was that the
the
plan?
goal is to finish in the top 5.
Oh, so okay.
And I wasn't the goal, sorry, I had to finish 6th or better.
Nice.
And my goal was top 5, and I got 5th.
There we go. Job done.
So, but yeah, every race worked out how we planned, but sometimes it's just so disappointing.
Oh yeah.
Like, for example, there's Lenzerheide. It was kind of, we got to that race and I was like, yes, like I feel good. I qualified by a few seconds. I had some time up my sleeve and the track suited me super well. Woke up race morning, pouring rain.
Again.
And I was like, damn it, have to go back to this safe. It's not that I'm riding safe. I'm just not riding on to the point where I could crash.
Yeah, I understand.
And especially in wet weather, you just have to be careful. So
absolutely. Okay, so biggest regret in your career?
That's a hard question. That's an question. Biggest regret. I don't like that word, regret.
Yeah.
I guess I have disappointments, but I've never my regret would have been if I didn't learn from disappointments and mistakes, but I've never regretted anything that I've done or anything that's happened to me, because I've always made sure that I made the most of
where you are,
the failure or the disappointment of the regret. So even if I had a regret, it's done something to benefit me in the long run.
Yeah,
good answer.
That's fair.
Yeah. Favorite memory?
Favorite memory? Well, gosh, I think it sounds really funny, but when we're in snowshoe, my brother's 2 boys came to watch, and my mom and my sister, like everybody came over, and but my brother's 2 boys were there.
Yeah.
And they were 10 and 11 at the time, and we lost one of them. Like, not lost, they're very, very independent boys.
Yeah.
And we were like, do you remember snowshoe? Like, it was just a chairlift.
Yeah.
It was like a chairlift above the track, and you could see the track the whole way.
Yeah.
And the track was super gnarly. And we kept like being at the pits, like, has anybody seen Rowdy? Rowdy, his name is, of all names. And then I was on this chairlift, just like going up for another practice run. Next minute, I just hear Rowdy screaming, Tracey, hey. And he was literally halfway down the track, walking the track on his own, 10 years old, and we had no idea where he was. And he's just screaming at me from the track. And I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite memories from the whole season. No one knew where he was. We thought he was just chilling near the pits, and he was on the freaking track.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh dear. So is that me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So next question. What would you say was your best run in your career? Your best race run?
Best race run. I would say, do you remember that year in Fort William? I think it was 2017. Yeah. It, like, the woods was impossible to ride. It was wet. It was catastrophic.
Yeah.
Like, some of the girls got taken out. Rachel got taken out. She dislocated her shoulder. I think Tiny couldn't race. And I was like, we all had to go up at 6 a.m. to have our race run because it was so windy. I think that was that weekend. Anyway, because I wasn't getting through the woods. Nobody was. And Cuscus said to me, all you have to do is get through the woods. It doesn't matter if you literally like scoot your bike through, but anyone who gets through the woods is going to have a good chance of winning. So I started my race run, like, the track was super gnarly. It was so wet. And then got to the woods, like, scooted through the woods, got out of the woods, did that mini road gap. Then you go into the next woods before the huge road gap.
Yeah.
I went through that woods, lost a foot, pedaled through the mud for that road gap, flat landed on the road for the road gap,
Oh,
sprinted the bottom section, went through the finish line, and I won by 11 seconds.
nice.
That track and that day and those conditions, that had to be my most insane run for sure.
That's
Like,
incredible, yeah.
Those woods were just
insane.
almost unrideable.
Catastrophic. Like, they were literally unrideable. You had to have girls were off their bike, men on ran beside her bike.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
literally insane.
Yeah, my game plan for finals was just stay on, and I didn't even do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, that was the goal for Leo Gang as well. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
How many World Cups have you won, Tracey? I didn't put it in the intro. But
5.
5. That's
Yeah.
a good haul. Yeah. And next question is best run that you've seen another rider do. What sticks in your memory?
That's a hard one. I'll have to think about that one.
I
know.
Go on.
When Remy Turion won Andorra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
I don't know if there was one person at the bottom. I did not hear anything at the bottom, and I don't think anyone was breathing, watching his run on the TV screen the whole time.
Yeah.
That bit coming into the bottom section when he took that line no one else did.
Yeah. And he's still doing stuff like that
It
now.
still makes me like lose my breath a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's so insane.
I've got goosebumps here thinking about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, and now when you watch him ride, it's still, you feel that memory of that run, knowing that he's just one of the most amazing riders that's ever been.
God, yeah.
Crazy run.
Yeah.
Okay. Biggest crash you've had?
Easy. I crashed in 2012, Val d'Isère, the steepest ski resort in France, and snapped my femur. Yeah.
We'll move on from that one.
Yeah.
I think the next question.
I tumbled a few times, I think.
The next question was worst injury. Was that femur the worst injury?
Yeah.
How long did it take
Hey?
How long did it take you to get back on the bike?
I think I did take that long. I like 3 or 4 months maybe.
Right.
And then I raced 6 months later at my first race.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a nice one, that one. Okay. What would you say the biggest feature is that you've ridden on a track that's like psyched you out the most? I think I know the answer to this one.
Yeah, what's your answer?
Well, I wouldn't want to lead you, but I would say that drop at the bottom of Leogang this year. I mean, I didn't ride it, but that
yes. Okay, the Red Bull jump, right?
Yeah. Like
there's 2.
Wow.
That Red Bull jump was actually okay with the run-in, but with the conditions, it was awful.
Exactly.
But the worst feature, and you'll definitely agree, ever, Leger.
That drop.
Leger drop. The most retarded thing I've ever rode in my life.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I hope they'll sort it before next year. Because
I know. I strapped my ankles with the most rigid tape I could buy at the shop. Strapped both my ankles, couldn't move them, like strapped them like that, couldn't move them for my race run so that I didn't snap an ankle either.
Wow. Yeah, it was dumb. Like
stupid.
Yeah. High speed to a flat landing. House.
Like so turning.
Yeah, and
turning off camber. Like the only way I could do it is I had to follow Michael in a few times because you couldn't just watch it and see where people were going wrong or right. You actually had to know the feeling of what it felt like riding into it and why you got like kicked sideways, why you landed weird, and absolutely. No.
You didn't crash at any point? No you didn't.
I never crash on big features because I always make sure I know.
Analyze them first. I was telling someone this yesterday, like most of the crashes I have tend to be on something stupid. It's never
stupid.
Yeah,
exactly.
I've, like,
the things you like don't think about.
No, because I think like a lot lower level than you guys. But if you're thinking about, I very rarely crash on a big feature because you think about it and you know exactly how you're going to do it. It's those ones when you stop concentrating or you're not expecting to crash. And even if you do crash on the big feature, you're thinking, I might crash here. I'll prepare for it. So I think the worst ones are when you're not prepared.
Right.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's sad because people like break their wrist or their arm, and I get messages like, I'm so scared now that I've broken a bone. And it's like, yeah, but how'd you do it? Something stupid. So
Yeah.
it's like you kind of just got to deal with it, I think.
Such is life, yeah.
Random question next. Favorite bike you've had over the years?
Favorite bike? I mean, I love my bike now, but we did spend like a fair few years developing the Polygon.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite bike was like, I had this hand-me-down from Michael when he was sponsored by Haro. So it was a Haro frame, and Dad kind of engineered it to fit these little 24-inch wheels, tiny little handlebars and stuff. And that was my first downhill bike.
Nice.
And yeah, and I love that thing. I took it on my first trips overseas and everything, and I got teased because it looked like dodgy, but that was my favorite bike.
Okay. Your favorite thing about racing? Like,
I love the feeling of being competitive, competing, analyzing.
Yeah.
Like figuring out what went wrong, what went right, how to train for it in the next off season. I guess I just, in one word, the challenge of racing.
Nice.
Like if you love winning and you love getting good results, then you love the challenge of racing. So I've always loved that.
Yeah,
and next question, least favorite thing about racing?
Not being able to eat for 3 days leading up to a race.
Really? It's that bad?
Nerves.
Nah, I hate when I can't answer why I've done a result that I've done that I've expected more from myself. I hate when I expect more from myself and it's unexplainable.
Yeah, okay.
I like to be able to always have an answer for everything that happens. And when I get down the hill, had a good run, my result isn't where I think it should be. You totally understand, Jack, because I know we're so similar in this regard. Yeah. That frustrates the hell out of me. I hate it. I absolutely need to know the answer for everything.
Yeah, definitely. My least favorite thing is that little time period between like warming up and, well, there's two actually. There's the time period after your last practice session before you start warming up, and then after the warm up before I'm walking to the gate.
That's interesting.
As soon as I'm
you
walking
need to
the
deal
gate,
with that.
I don't like hate it. I just want to be getting on with it. I'm like ready, and it's like, oh, come on, let's go.
You know that the nerves will dissipate as soon as you've set off, but you can't do anything.
As soon as I'm in the gate, I'm fine. It's just
me. I have a routine from like an hour before my race starts, so everything is on a time. Yeah. Even the time that before I'm in the gate is on a time, so I feel fine.
Nice.
It's the time between practice and starting my race routine that sucks.
Yeah, the nerves.
It's awful. Oh man, nerves. They're hard.
Favorite curse word that you use?
Like all the time?
Yeah. This is. You know, I said about the inside.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. It's fine. Yeah, we put a warning on the start.
Okay, so I have my brother-in-law is like, I call him my best friend. My sister's husband, we like get along super well. Anyway, whenever he does something wrong or whenever something goes wrong or whenever we're trying to say like it's real shit, we'll say fuck's sake, and that's my favorite ever. Fuck's sake. Even his friends, like for his Bucks party, made him this t-shirt with his face on it and the meme said fuck's sake.
Nice.
That's how good it is.
So,
I even wear it If I have a party at my house and I know he's coming over, I wear that shirt because it's just so funny.
That's the one question that I've kept from, I said at the start about the inside the actor studio. That's the
Oh
one
yeah.
question from theirs that I kept. I was like, it's a random one, but I quite like it.
Yeah, it is good. I mean, I swear way too much. My parents, I mean, my dad swears if he drops like a tool on his toe or something, but my parents don't swear at all.
Yeah.
Well,
And this industry in Cairns is so bogan. Swearing is like the language.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
but
My brother doesn't swear.
I
No,
was just
sorry.
about to say,
Yeah,
I swear loads, and obviously I hang around with Mick a lot of the races, and
he doesn't.
Mick
He
does
doesn't
not
swear.
swear.
I know.
So it makes me really aware of it. And if he listens to
It's
this,
really weird,
laugh.
isn't it?
But like, I'll be on the chair with him, and especially if we've just done a run or something, I'm like, "Fuck this was why?" I'm like swearing away, and I'm like, Mick's just like, yeah.
It's like it's really, really impressive that he doesn't swear.
Yeah.
Like
Good.
and which like his explanation for swear words and big words is good. He's like, what do I say when I'm really angry if I just use swear words all the time?
There you
So
go.
when he is really angry, he swears, and it makes my heart skip a beat when I hear him swear because I know
Oh, he's mad.
that's a big word. That's a big word. Like, when he finishes a run, how was it? Fucking shit! Like, oh gosh, he swore. He
Really
swore.
bad.
It was terrible. Yeah, he doesn't swear. And
Yeah.
he said it's because he needs words to use when he's actually angry, which makes complete sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
get
It
that.
definitely makes me more aware of how much
Oh,
of a
and
pot
me.
mouth I've got, and then after a weekend with him, I'm like swearing way less.
It's so, yeah, I mean, it's good. Morally, it's good. It's just
Yeah.
funny.
Okay, so question 18. Thing you'll miss.
Definitely the atmosphere, for sure. And I really love riding. I really love the tracks. I love like the short amount of time that you have to get up to speed. Like definitely the challenge of racing, I'll miss.
Mm.
In the World Cup circuit, for sure, I'll miss that section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being the best as well at something. You are one of the best in the world at what you do. And it must be quite hard to make that decision to give that up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very forward thinker, so I try to expect to work hard to be the best in anything I do. So I never thought of that, but yeah, that will be hard. But I also, yeah, I guess I achieved the goals that I wanted to achieve, and a lot of racing for me is proving to myself that I could work hard, train hard, do the job. So in the sense that being the best is what everyone else sees, and I'm just proud of what I did and what I saw. So it won't really matter to me leaving that part. So.
And that's such an important outlook. Otherwise, as you say, you'll potentially never be happy, because if you only care about what other people think, then whereas you've got to be satisfied with what you've achieved. So I couldn't agree more. The thing you won't miss.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm gonna spell it out. The UCI.
I was like,
both like looking going, hey?
No.
Politics. The politics. Yeah. The politics and the I don't know. I noticed it more this year. I could have been because I did well in the overall the year before. I got more involved in like group chats and what people are talking about, and so many decisions from a rider's perspective are made without most of the riders even knowing that they're being made.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. In that regard, it's kind of like a status sport.
Yeah, 100%.
Like this guy makes the decision for all of these riders, but none of these riders know that that decision is being made on behalf of them. So that pissed me off.
Yeah, it was the same in Maribor when they said they were going to open George won't even know this, but obviously we had two races in Maribor with two slightly different tracks. And on the Wednesday, we were all, or I certainly was under the impression that track 1 was going to be open for the whole day. We'd practice track 1. We'd have time practice on track 1. And then track 2 wouldn't be open until Saturday for a 3-hour practice session. And then we find out after track walk that track 2 was going to be open on Wednesday as well. But you've got junctions on a track where people are going to be flying in. That crazy triple that was on track 2, that was a junction. So you would be coming in onto the landing of there when someone could potentially, and they said they were going to control it with yellow flags. And every single, well, apparently not every single rider, but 95% of the riders went, "You what?"
Yeah.
My point is, there was a small WhatsApp group that only one rider from each, I think, elite team is allowed in. So there's not even riders from normal mountain bike teams in there.
No, there's got to be like maximum 15, maybe 20 riders in the group. And how many riders are at a race?
Exactly.
And they say riders, this, riders that. And like, I got asked to vote on something. Oh, sorry, forgot to add you to the group. And it's like, so really it's you and you. Discuss what you and you want, and on behalf of all the riders, you take it to the UCI, and that's what. Which doesn't bother me. Like, the decisions are hard to be made, but like, it's I don't like the politics. No, I really don't like the politics of it. And
can I just say, Jack, you guys don't stop for yellow flags anyway, do you?
We try not to.
What's the point?
The only time
no, man, every race is like different style of flagging, and just kind of got to wait.
What you've got to remember is they're giving the flags, and obviously huge respect to all the people who marshal.
We slow for the yellow flag, Jack.
Yeah, of course. But half the time, like, you're not even sure if it's there. Like,
no, I know.
If I had a flag, because I'm a racer, if there was a yellow flag, I would have the flag really far out into the track, and I would be saying, slow down. And if I had a red flag, it would be blocking the course. Yeah. Half the time, you're like, did I see a flag?
Gosh. You don't even know if you see it. Yes, exactly. Half the time, it's the riders saying, hey, slow down, slow down. Meanwhile, you look behind, was there a flag? Oh, yeah, there he is, up in the bush, having a smoke.
Yeah. I had to do it in Leogate.
Or like that one track where they were waving the red flag, and we figured out that they were waving the red flag because there was a dangerous section ahead.
Yeah.
We were like,
what?
Oh, yeah, okay, so just because it's a rock garden and it looks scary to you, you don't wave your red flag for that. That's just for crashes.
Carnage. I had to jump out
super weird stuff like that.
I had to jump out into that steep.
But that can't be helped.
Because like a girl had crashed and she'd had a big one, bike was tangled up in the catch netting, and she was like stuck, and I was just trackside just watching for Dan and stuff. And Marshall barely even got the flag out. We had to scream up to get a flag out, and then I had to like dive across the track.
And they stand in the they don't realize, like, if you wave the flag there, that guy's gonna stop about 500 meters later.
Yeah,
it's like trying to explain to them that if you stop the flag there, it's too far gone. If they're not going to stop on the steep section. So we go through the yellow flags for sure, because yellow means slow down, right?
I know that from racing here in the UK. Usually all the other categories we're going a lot slower than you guys, so everybody slows down, and then you'll just hear on the radio, and I'll pick a random name. Yeah, Charlie Hatton's just gone through the yellow flags. And it's like all the way down. Yeah, he's just ignored them all the way down.
But that's the thing.
Yeah. Red is important. Yellow. I mean,
that yellow's just riding the caution. And Charlie probably is riding the caution. He just looks like he's
exactly. You're just going around someone who's like dragging themselves off the track.
Yeah. But I agree. The politics in the downhill needs to change.
Yeah, just the politics like that. It's not to say that it's like why I retired, but that is something I won't miss for sure.
So, last question of the 20, and it just says the future. What are you up to?
Future.
What can you tell us?
So, at the moment, I'm studying a certificate in fitness, and in the new year, I'm gonna do some I have to do like my coaching accreditation for mountain biking. So that means I'll have like the fitness side, the fitness nutrition side, and mountain bike accreditation. And eventually in the future, I want to be able to coach riders
Nice.
that are like up and comers. But next year I will be having fun racing as many festivals that happen, going to all the crankworks, trying to spend time with fans. Like for the last 9 years, I've said no to most opportunities because I've been so focused on just racing World Cups. Like I didn't do any extra disciplines like crankworks, and I never went to festivals. I was always like, no, I have to stay home and train. So now I don't really have any serious training commitments. I'm ready to ride my bike some more, pretty much.
Yes. There's two questions from the Inside the Actor Studio thing that I've got stuck at the bottom of the page here that I didn't include in the 20. And the first one is, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? What would you like to have a go at?
It sounds really ridiculous, and I don't know if it would ever happen, but I've always kind of had my mind on like long distance running, only because of the mental side. I'm not a runner, and it would take a lot of work. But apparently women, when they're over 40, are super mentally strong. So I'm going in the right direction.
And what?
It's for after I'm 40.
And what profession would you not like to do?
Anything to do with customer service and sales.
Yeah.
Retail. I don't like dealing with people.
No, fair.
Unless it's like in the sporting industry and exercise industry. Like I think I would really love working with people who want to exercise and who are motivated, but someone buying food from hospitality, that's the one, hospitality industry. Not for me.
So
I did that enough.
That's those questions done. There's one last thing I did want to ask you about, and that's just the current state of women's downhill at World Cup level. It's in a great place right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not in a great place. It's still disappointing, the lack of support that women get. And I was only just speaking about this the other day. We get a lot of, like, it's hard to know when you're not a woman in this position, but we get a lot of, but if you were in the men's, if you were a man racing, if you were this and that, like as if to say, but if you were in the men's, you wouldn't have got a top 5. If you were in the men's, you wouldn't have got a podium. If you were in the men's, you wouldn't have been able to qualify. And I just want to say, like, we train just as hard. We race exactly the same tracks, and we are damn close to the men for being women. And I have worked like the last 9 years in the gym every off season to even get strong enough to ride those tracks. So women's mountain biking is good in the sense that it's competitive, but it still doesn't get the support that it deserves, I don't believe.
So what I actually meant was the depth of the field is very good. And the very next show we're doing, I think, is with Emily and a couple of other riders about the state of women's downhill, about exactly the things that you've just talked about them. So we're kind of aware of that. You're all right. But the depth of the field.
Amazing. Getting better every year. And I think the crazy thing is that you'll see a rider, like say 4 years ago, Marin was there. Next minute, like she's goes home, works for 2 off seasons, comes back like, damn, she's fast. Same with Nina, Monica. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's the same with any rider as well, as you would know with Dan and that. Like, put the rider on the circuit, put them against riders that are fast, make them realize, there's a bit more work to do. Give them 2 off seasons, come back, and then they're flying. So it's very, very good.
Now you're on the sidelines for the World Cups. Who's your favorite new female rider that you're going to be cheering for? I'd say new, you know what I mean?
So my favorite rider that I'll be cheering for?
Yeah, but one of the new
in general.
Ones. So obviously, Carney, Rachel have been there ages. Emily's been there a long time. Out of the kind of handful that have surfaced?
Probably, I mean, I really love watching Marin ride. I think she has a really nice style, and I don't know why, but there's just something that clicks in her head when the timer starts and she turns into a machine. But also Veronica Wedman.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see her excel. Like she's the kind of rider that's like not conservative, but she's not Tani and Marin and Nina or Monica in the sense that she's not like just like all out balls out, but her consistency and her riding style just gets her down the hill super fast, and she's a smooth rider. I think she can do really well as well.
Nice.
It reminds me a bit of Manon.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Manon never looked out of control, never looked like out of her comfort zone, but was so fast.
Yeah.
Following on from what you just said, Tracey, before, obviously George just said we've got this podcast coming up, so a question that's just come to my mind, looking in from where I am, maybe you'll agree, it looks like a lot of the teams that have women, they bolt the women on. And I don't mean that in an offensive way. I mean it in a way that, like, it's wrong. Like, the focus isn't on the woman. The woman is just added to the program. Like, if you ever saw, let's say, Syndicate take a female rider, you know that most people would say, they're taking her for the points, for the overall.
Yeah.
Now,
yes.
Do you think it will get to a point where there will start to be teams where there are actually, say, 2 or 3 women on the team and no men, and the sport gets to a point where it sees these women as athletes, as marketable brand ambassadors, where the focus of the team needs to actually be on those women rather than, we've got this team, we've got these 3 guys, and let's just chuck her in as well. What would you say to that?
Yeah. Good observation. First of all, I would say that does happen for about a year or 2. So they'll be like, well, what I've noticed is a team will be like, yeah, we'll get a woman as like a, an add-on, as you said. I don't want to say bolt-on. An add-on. But but I think that what I see with teams that take on a woman is they realize, man, this is actually really valuable. And once they've had the woman for like a year or 2, they start to really thrive and realize that that's quite a valuable thing that they've done. And then they start to, enhance that and promote that and keep the woman on. I think more teams should give a woman a chance, and then they would realize, like the teams that have women, that it actually is a really valuable thing. Not only is it really good for promotion and for the sport and for women's riding, but it's really, really great for team atmosphere to have women on the team. It makes a huge difference to go from a male dominated team to just having 1 or 2 females on. It makes a huge difference. Like, you get a little bit more compassion, a little bit more insight into the track. Like, a woman sees the track completely different, and I think that it's extremely valuable to have a woman on the team if you get the right match.
I think as well, if you look, like, would you say next season, if Rachel comes back, when she comes back, is she the lead rider on that team?
Charlie.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, yes, but
she was, I guess. It's a hard one because Charlie did so well, but Rachel's going to come back and he's going to be back in the shadows like straight away, I think.
And I think Valley could be a team, the lead rider on a team with her profile and her potential ability.
Yeah, and that's the thing, marketing that's gone on behind Valley and around Valley. That's what we need to see more of. And it comes back to what you said, Tracey, about people saying to you, or not to you, but to anyone, that if you were a man this, if you were a man that, I feel that even when sometimes some of the women, when they defend their argument or whatever about being underpaid or whatever the subject is, they still turn it back into that kind of comparison to the men. And I don't think it should be compared in any way. Like,
no, I agree.
From Scotland, like, she came 9th and 9th at the 2 World Cups and 5th, I think, at World Champs. And that's a great signing for a team. And it shouldn't be compared or analysed in a way you would analyse signing a man, because you're not. Like, there's fewer women, it works differently, and I just personally think it's looked at the wrong way. And if we had the opportunity, if we had the means, we'd definitely have a woman on our team. But we're so small, we don't. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that it's all about perspective, and I think that when they compare women to the men, it's like, in this day and age, it's ridiculous. But if you just take one woman and see what she can give to your team, women give quite a lot to the team. And I mean, not only that, just the support, having an extra supportive woman on the team to like keep the house clean, for example, is huge. But let alone just promoting the business. I mean, how many women are in the sport now? It's crazy.
I remember kind of a few years ago when I started racing nationals over here. I'm in the veterans category, and there's some really, really good ex-elite riders in there. And we've seen the standard of women's downhill increase dramatically over that time. And I remember when I first started riding, the top veterans would be like, "You didn't get beat by a girl this weekend, did you?" And that would be any of them, But then it started that, Rachel started beating them, Manon started beating them, Tanya, and it got to the point that nobody mentions it anymore because they're all getting beat by girls now. The field is getting so strong that it's not a thing anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, generally, race by race, we are maximum of 10 seconds per minute behind Jack. Yeah. It's not much. In 1 minute, 6 seconds. You can count to 6 really fast.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, look, congratulations on an amazing career, and thank you for always giving 100% and inspiring us all to go full speed all the time. Best of luck for the future. We look forward to seeing you out still racing and stuff as well.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
It's been great.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and I tell you what, just touching on what you just said there, I think if me and you...
Sorry.
if me and you did a race down your track, Karanda, is that right? Karanda?
Yeah,
you'd smoke.
I'm pretty fast there. The results would go Michael Hanna, Tracey Hanna, everyone else.
I remember trying to follow you down there blind. I'd ridden it the year before with Baron a few times, our mutual friend down there, and I tried to follow you and was like, oh my God, like, she's gone. Yeah,
Loic Bruni was like, "You're really fast here," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. This is my track. This is my baby."
Nice.
Amazing. That's it from us for this episode. Thanks again to our sponsors, Hope Technology, Revolution Bike Park, Schwalbe, and SingleTrackWorld.com. If you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you've got a second, please drop us a review. Alternatively, please give us a follow on Instagram at Making Up the Numbers Racing or Facebook.com/Making Up the Numbers. Jack, when can we expect a new episode of the vlog? I'm not seeing one for a while.
Well, having a little bit of time off, but we've got new frames on the way from Commentel, the mullet frames. So obviously me and Dan will need to get out on those and test. We've been on 29ers. So yeah, I'll definitely film an episode of that. Show you guys how we're getting on and what the results are.
Excellent. Well, keep your eyes out for that, everybody. We'll be back with another episode very soon.